All right, we got Funky Boy here. Everything's good now. Okay, so bookshelf generator part 4. Um, glad you're sticking through it with the bookshelf generator. Yeah, I think this has it's turning into a really great learning experience. I think we're covering a lot of different topics here. Today, my focus was going to be on scaling the books just to get a little bit of variety. And I have my window here. I need to set the defaults for these. And looks like I have an error in my UI. And then number of shelves, I don't know. Let's make sure we're still in good shape here. For the most part, I messed up the thickness. There we go. Now the variance popped in. So let's fix that really quick. I think it was a 2 centimeter. Yeah. And the wood texture should hopefully pop in. There we go. So everything's good. And I'm converting int to probably string or something at some point. That's is getting messed up. So yeah, I'm using int fields and then I'm passing that somewhere. A conversion to int. All right, no big deal. We'll deal with that later. So let's put in some default values here. I think int field has a default keyword argument. You can give it a model. I'll just set it before. Yeah, if you're having trouble with the code, we can take a look at it together on Discord. Maybe you might have changed some values and that caused the issue. All right, so this is probably using a simple int model, and that takes a default value. So I could create one and pass it through. That might be the cleanest way here. So model is equal to UI.simple int model, and then the default is number of shelves. Use 3. Cool. Yeah, if you find something that doesn't work, maybe it's an error on my side. So yeah, if you find some values that break it, apart from taking it too far and just visually breaking it, let me know and I can look at it and address it in the future, in the next stream, hopefully. All right, default value, and then here I can pass the model in. So I'll do the same for the rest of these. And I guess I don't need to, I'm doing this backwards here. There we go. So See, this is it's the first argument, so I don't even need to do a keyword argument here. We'll just leave it at that. Thickness 2. And we pass the thickness model. Yeah, so I'll need to think about what to do there. Whether we set lower bounds on these fields so that you can't put values that break it, or maybe it makes sense to go that low. Maybe your bookshelf is for mice, and you're working on Ratatouille, and you want really small books. You have really small book assets, and you need to build a small bookcase. Let's let that do for a bit. Hopefully I'm doing, this isn't thickness model, this is height model, I think. Yeah. All right, thickness, num shelves. So this one, I'm gonna make the height 200, 150. And that should be much better. Now I should see, no. I should have seen the default values pop in. Well, today I guess we're focusing on UI. It's default value is the keyword. It doesn't even have to be a keyword. It's the first argument, so let's just do that because that's a really long keyword for this. And since Funky Boy brought it up, we can set a min and a max here. Properties are called min and max, so I think that's what the keyword arguments are called. Let's try that out. So for example, well, let's save this, make sure that fix worked. Yep, so there's our default values. And just to make this a little bit more clear, this is just UI that I slapped together last minute on the last stream. So I do want to do another pass at this and make it better, but this will hopefully help me develop a little bit. So minimax on the width. So if we say minimum is maybe 30 and max, I think we just need a minimum. So now if I set this to 10, looks like it still let me do 10, and that's a cool looking bookshelf though. So I may need to do it this way. Self.width model.min is equal to 10's kind of cool. Let's keep it. All right, so in theory, if I do 5, I need to check what our, so the model may accept something less, or it may have a min and a max, but I think, does the field have a min and a max? I guess not. Abstract field. This doesn't do anything. I'm pretty sure I did that right. Int model min is equal to... Well, I thought it would block me from inputting smaller numbers, or at least error or something. And I'm still getting that conversion error, which is weird. All right. There's these setters. Try that. All right, one last try. Otherwise, I want to move on to... Either way, I want to move on to the point instancer, because that's where all the fun is. Yeah, I'll need to check. I thought the design was that the field would block it in some way. One more check. Let's see. Set max or set min. Here's this one. We're doing a float model. See, this one has... See, this is what I was looking for, is the float drag has min and max keyword arguments. The int field doesn't look like it does. Like one more time. Width, height, visible min, that's not relevant. Well, let's just try it in case it's not documented. Here. Min is equal to 10. Nope. All right, well. And just as a sanity check, I wonder if the float field has it. The float drag definitely has it. Float field does not. Very curious. All right, on to the generator. We don't need this right now. So, create frame, create board, create shelves, and here are our books. So last week, we were talking about... Pull up my documentation here. Point instancer. And before we get started, I also found here on Polyhaven this really sweet set of books. And I want to try it out. But wanted to see what folks think. Should we use these books? It's a lot of assets, so I was thinking for the actual extension, I'd probably just include that one book as for the demo. But I do want to expand this to let users add their own prototypes. So probably what I would show is the code for allowing users to add their own prototypes, and then on stream I can show what the bookshelf looks like with these fancy books. And then if you want to, you can download them and add them as well. But let me know what you think. Is it worth digging into it or not? Those are some nice books. Yep. Okay, so here we are. We're creating positions, proto indices, and back to the documentation. There is also a orientation property and scales property. So we want to create a scales attribute. This would be an array of, this would still be a vec3 since you can do scale in three directions. So we'll set it up similar to positions. And otherwise it follows the same pattern as positions. With ISBN, it might be possible to generate the books and sizes. It'd be a lot of work though. If somebody can find me a Python library that can give me information from an ISBN database, I will do it. The other thing I was thinking is I would like to add more rules. Like it shouldn't only be books. I'd like to have like picture frames and things like that. So potentially with add your own assets, we could you could instead of a book add a picture frame. We calculate the width off of that. But there's things like bookends that might be interesting. And that would be a different rule, right? You might want to have a start bookend, end bookend. Maybe we could generalize that, and there should be a little bit of randomness to it or spacing for those non-book assets. You don't want them sitting right next to the books every time, right? So something to think about. I don't know if we'll go that far, but it is something that I thought might be fun. All right, so we're getting our widths from the assets. That would be our starting width per prototype. So now we need to calculate another random number. Random range. I think random range is what I want. What does this do? So choose a random item from range start to stop by steps. It wants ints. Choices. This is my first time using this library, so just want to see what options I have. This will give me a float between 0 and 1. That's the classic math random, so I'll probably just use that. And it doesn't need any parameters. So I want to do some variation on the x to give them a little variation on the width, and even less variation on the height for these. And I was looking at that asset, and really a lot of the books are similar sizes, which makes sense, right? There's some predefined book sizes like paperback, mass production paperback, and they're all pretty standardized there. But we'll just do some crazy randomization. It'll be fine. It looks fine when there's so much variety in the textures, but if I just do it with my one book asset, it looks too similar. I think a little bit of variety in the sizing will help. All right. Width scalar. Height scalar. And I'm going to do +1, right? Because I want the minimum scale to at least be 1. Or I could make them a little bit smaller, but I think I just want to go bigger. And then I need to do some multiplication here. So at max, maybe double the size is too much, maybe. Let's just do that. It's either, maybe I want to half it. And this one might be even less. But that'll be fine for now. We need to add our scales list. And then scales, let's move that up a line. Scales.append. And this is going to be a list, or let's just do a vec3. Vec3d. And this one's going to be, I'm not even doing a scalar here, it's just the width and the height of the book at this point. Oh, but I do need to multiply it by the book. No, I guess not. I do need the scalar for calculating the next width. So we're good. So width scalar, height scalar, and 1. Then when we calculate the next width, we multiply that by width scalar. Instancer.create scales matter dot set scales. All right, here we go. They're all the same, aren't they now? I'm surprised those are so close. There's a little bit of overlapping there, I think. Yeah, it is, right? Yep. So there's something going on there. And my random is I'm only doing the random once, not with every loop. So let's cut that out. That there. There we go. Yeah, so that height variation is huge. But the width feels okay. I could maybe even push it a little bit. Get some of those fat books in there. But I don't know why I messed up the offsets. It looks like they're always off by just the right amount. So we'll take a look at that. I set that back to 1. Maybe it was wrong from the beginning. No, it looks a lot better. Oh. Oh, I hope I don't have my pivot in the wrong spot. Let's take a look at that asset really quick. All right, I'm going to open this and then we'll come back to this stage. So that looks right. Yep. Maybe something I did wrong with the math. Need a light in here. It's too dark. Yeah, look at that. That's like perfectly aligned. There's like other navigation modes here that would help me, but I'm gonna say that's definitely aligned. All right, do a new stage. Rerun that, and try to figure out what's going on. Let's undo that. Bring back this stuff. So it should be scaling on that origin, on that object pivot. And I'm scaling that positive. Let's debug this a bit. See if that reveals anything. Also, quick break here. Is this font big enough for the code? I guess I could go a little bit bigger. But what was it? Control plus? Whoa. I'll go one step bigger. I don't know if there's a way to know or remember what size this is. Maybe it says down here. What about before? Because this is much more comfortable to work with. I'll leave it there for a sec. So we were going to look at, oh yeah, we're going to debug. That should attach. It's unattached. I've got all sorts of errors here. What's this? Okay. Okay, so I'll leave the font there. Somebody said that it was a little small, but if you're at the highest resolution, it works. If you're trying to watch on the phone, it can be tough. That's weird that this didn't connect. Let's run it. Yeah, it's not gonna break. It doesn't even have a port number here. Usually it would show the port number, I think. All right, let me restart code for this because it'd be nice to have that working. Let's see if this will sort that out. Welcome. If you're just joining us, I am restarting code. We're still working on the scale for the books, so we can get some randomization in the scale. And it was mostly working. Actually, the scale is working. The offset for the books, so that they are taking into account the new scaled width, is not working. So that's what I'm trying to see what happened here. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Well, yeah, here we go. So I'm using the next width for the next book. I think I should have done that. I should have adjusted next X. So I guess I didn't need the debugging after all. So we need to set the position after I've calculated the scale. And once I have that, then I can calculate the correct offset. Sometimes you just gotta step away from the problem, and then the answer reveals itself to you. Now I'll test this, and it's not gonna work, and you'll all realize that I'm an imposter. I don't know. And now code is taking an awfully long time to start. One more time. Starting. Well, while that's loading, let's look at the code a little bit more. So I don't need this anymore, because our shelves are creating the books themselves. I'm still not totally happy with the fact that the bottom shelf is a shelf, but it's also part of the frame. The other thing we can do is this book. I don't know if I've brought this up before, but I think Funky Boy brought this up, is that the book is embedded in the extension. So if I ever create an asset using this book, it's going to be referencing a file in the extension when I share that asset, the whole bookcase. I have to remember to grab that book. I have to do collect assets or something to make sure to pull that book into somewhere reachable, easily findable. So that the one possible solution is before you generate, ask the user where they want to save the book if they haven't provided any custom prototypes. and just copy the book over and then use that as the reference from then on. So it's just the stage that is having some trouble loading here. Everything else is responsive. The other thing we can do while we wait is I found the issue with the search is I had this button checked on, which excludes settings and ignore files. I don't know what the ignore files are, but I unchecked that and then it started searching through the app directory. So that gave me the full results that I was expecting. So if anybody runs into that, that's how you fix that, or a possible issue that you might be running into. We should fill out this extension toml so we can step through that a little bit. Super frustrated with code right now, man. Funky Boy brings up a good suggestion. Is I was thinking you might want to replace the scope with an Xform to make it easier to move the entire shelf. That's also a really great point, and I'll likely need code up and running in order to show that. But if I don't get to it, remind me. I think now's a good time to talk about that. Okay. So by default, when you create a new extension, you get the extension toml, and it has a lot of the fields already defined for you with just some stubbed out information. So first thing that you can do, and I don't know why I was testing Japanese font in here. First thing you can do is delete stuff that you added by mistake at some point. Version, you can update this version number as you update your code and release new versions. That's great. Title, that's the title that shows up in the extension manager. And the description is also shows up in there as more information. A procedural modeling tool for creating bookshelves with arrayed books. Cool. This README is the one that shows in the extension manager when you click for more details on the extension. It'll show this README. This README is different from this README, which is the one that you would have on GitHub on the homepage for your GitHub repo. So I think it makes sense to have these separate. This one is more user docs, and so you might want just a quick introduction to the and usage to the tool there. This one would have a lot more information about if you want to allow other contributors and things like that. So more developer focused for that one. So what I would need to do is add a new folder here, and I can change that path to whatever, but I do think it's worth sticking to the patterns that the NVIDIA developers have established, and then it just makes it easier when somebody jumps into your extension. If it looks like everybody else is, they know right off the bat what to do. So we'll just put a title here. And I guess it doesn't hurt to just copy the description too. Have some content in there to start. Cool. Try a different version of code, see what's up. All right, that's the README repository. This would be a link to where you've hosted the repository. I can do that now. Cool. So this is kind of chicken and egg situation here that you do need to potentially push your code in order to fill that field. But that's cool. You don't need to create a release yet. You can push your code and store it on GitHub private as well. Category. We'll look at that in the UI. I don't know if there's a modeling category, but it's somewhere around there. Or maybe it's layout. It's more modeling. All right. And then just keywords. Modeling. Procedural. Point. Instancer. Instancing. Bookshelf. Cool. I think that's fine. UI app. This is the default dependency. We are building a UI extension, so we want that one. The Python module. This is what gets imported when your extension is enabled, and so that's just the Python package that where our extension.py lives. This init.py will import the extension, and that gets everything working to enable it. And we can look at the Kit documentation to see if there's anything else that's worth mentioning right now. So let me pull that up. Extensions. Extension.toml. Here we go. So this has the config fields. You can set the extension to reloadable or not. That can be kind of handy if you don't want the hot reloading. Order is a loading order. Category. We'll look at that. What's currently being used in the app. Author, you can do that. I don't think I have that one. Where's my code? I feel like that used to be there. Changelog, also very, very handy. I wonder if we removed these from the template because it used to be there. I like to keep a changelog. This document or this web page here is really interesting if you've never done a changelog. It shows you how to list them, and so if you're going to be maintaining an extension for a while, I think it'll be useful to your users if you, for every version that you release, mention what you've added, what you've changed, what you've removed. People read this stuff, and it helps them know whether they need to update, want to update. So let's add that now. So I'll add a changelog here. And Cool. We got the README preview image. This shows in the extension details as well. Shown in the overview of the extension window. So yeah, you want that. The icon, this is the one that shows up as a in the list of extensions. So you'll want that one too. So I'll just go ahead and add these. I don't have anything for these yet, but and icon equal to. So if you're wondering where I'm putting these, this is a package section, and so that corresponds to this package, and then anything under there are the keywords for that are nested under it. So package.preview would fall under the package section. Target, if you've got different operating systems, builds, and all that. That's not relevant for us right now. Dependencies, we covered that. And the Python module. Script folder. I've never used this, but that sounds interesting. Native plugin, library, and then settings. If your extension has any settings that it uses, I'll need to think about what settings I may want to expose for the bookshelf, but those would be defined under settings section. Environment variables, which files to watch for hot reloading, and testing information, testing configuration. And that's it for that. So it's kind of a quick overview of the extension toml. And all right, we got code back. That took a really long time, but it sorted out. I won't be restarting anymore today. Let me get my layout just right. Okay. And let's take a quick look over here. So this is what I was talking about. Bookshelf. So the name didn't quite take yet, but the information here did. Preview image is not specified yet. Like I had that commented out. Keywords didn't take yet. We can look at the list of categories here. So categories are still pretty limited. Maybe other is the right choice there, but I did save this. There we go. So that forced it to update here. So yeah, I put the modeling category, threw it into other. But I guess if modeling ever becomes a legit category, I'll be ready for it. And this is the icon that I was talking about. Shows up here as well. There's the description. So we're in good shape. I'll add in the image later. The images changelog is here, so very helpful if you have that changelog. You can access it straight from the app. Dependencies, that shows all the dependencies that I'm using. I'm using my only dependency that I've declared is UI app. I could do a better job of declaring those dependencies a bit. And then the testing section. Packages, I don't know what that is. So I'll need to find out. All right, so let's come over here. And what all am I using in here? I'm using OmniUI. I'm using my generator, I'm using OmniKit commands and OmniUSD. And all right, so let's just add those. I can do omni.usd. In the curly braces, you can add a specific version if you needed to. But don't need that right now. Cool. So now if I look at my dependencies, now I've got more explicitly defined ones. OmniUSD, OmniKit commands, and the OmniUI app. The interesting thing is I don't need to define kit commands because OmniUSD already uses that, because OmniUSD defines certain kit commands already. So just by pulling in OmniUSD, I'm also getting kit commands. So I'll just go ahead and get rid of that dependency. Cool. So there's OmniUSD, and then the UI app. All right. Enough about dependencies. We all want to see if this is working. So let's run it. Oh no. Well, we wanted to fix the offset and we made it worse. All right, let's see. Generator. So yeah, definitely wrong. Now that I think about it, I did have it right before, right? The first book will start at 0. And then from then on, the next width is... So it's gonna undo, but I'll just come back here. Before I continue debugging this, I do want to answer Funky Boy's question. Some things that... So Funky Boy's question was, shouldn't you, but instead of a scope for geometry, shouldn't you use an Xform? That way you can move the whole book around, the whole bookshelf around. And that is a very important feature, and something that I've been thinking about. At first, my thought was, this is really an asset structure, if I get rid of this light. And this is what a lot of studios use for their asset structure. And one that we recommend as well is you can use scopes to organize your different types of prims. So I have all my geometry under this scope, and then all of my materials under this scope. And my original idea was, you run this tool, you generate a bookshelf that you like, and then maybe it even sets the asset information, like the kind, whether it's an assembly, or in this case, I would make it a component. It's a leaf asset. Well, it'd be more of an assembly. What is an assembly? An assembly is an asset, a type of asset that incorporates, that references other assets. So it's made up of other defined assets from the pipeline. So technically, if I were doing this in a studio environment, this book would be an asset in the pipeline. And as I'm referencing it into this one, it would make it an assembly. So I could do that. And set some other metadata to identify this as an asset. And then when I want to use this in my larger scene, I just reference this scene that I've built representing my bookshelf. and everything is good to go. So very little effort on the user's end to create a proper asset. But what I've been thinking about is kind of what Funky Boy was saying is people might want to model this in context. So they might have their scene and they may there. They may want to then move everything around. And we'll need to see what's going on with that. So the other option that I see is we create an Xform, group everything under that, and that's very curious. And then leave it up to the user to publish this as an asset, or maybe we have some other publish flow within the UI that says, okay, now assetize, set this up as an asset, and then save it as its own file, and we're good to go. So that's probably more flexible, right? I think people would probably want to model in context, to see how their bookshelf fits in the space, and then once they're good to go, they can assetize it if they want, or they may not want to at all. Maybe they're just being scrappy and just throwing it into a scene. It's a one-off thing. So I will adjust it to do that, I think. But we'll get to that. I got to sort out the scale issue. And apparently now also the transform issue once I parent that again. Okay, so let's bring this back. I had the right idea before. Okay, but I'm pretty sure my VS Code debugging is not gonna work here either. So I want to see what's going on here. It's like the port number is not even defined for this. I thought this might be a setting here, but I guess not. All right, thanks for coming, Funky Boy. Sweet, thank you, Funky Boy. Yeah, I would love to include your icon if you share it with me. And yeah, this is totally, everything that we're doing here is totally applicable to putting products on store shelves. So if you wanted to adapt this for that, I think that's a great idea. So share this with Whole Foods or something. Okay. I do want to do one thing here. Let's re-enable this extension, see if it throws any errors. And then if I run this to connect, nothing. Not even an error on my end saying that I wasn't able to connect. So language server. And my settings file. Launch.json. This looks fine. Very sad. All right, well, we will resort to some logging here. Be careful with copyrights, though. Yeah. Very true. Width, height. I don't care about height, but I do want to know what next width is. Oh, I think I see the issue. This needed to go here. Okay, so I'm multiplying the width by and then adding it to the next x. I was multiplying. I was multiplying the offset entirely. Okay. One more time. There we go. Yay. All right, simple issues. You know, simple mistakes cause big issues. That's looking good, I think. What do y'all think? Should I think I can crank the width a little bit more so we get fatter books and maybe less variation in the height. Thoughts? Otherwise I need to start doing weighting and to get a little bit less variation. I don't want to get into that. That looks good. All right, and our logic still holds up to cut these books off once we get to the end. That's cool. Well, at least we got this done today. It took a lot longer than I anticipated, but. And what does this look like with path tracing? The same. All right. These bookshelves do need to be a little bit deeper. But I didn't, yeah, I have depth exposed here, but I guess I didn't expose it there. Should I add it to the UI? What about for these parameters? I feel like for width and height, I would probably want to think about it in meters. And maybe for depth too, but for thickness in centimeters, or just make them all, leave them all centimeters or all meters. Anybody have a preference? You're here, so you get to choose what this tool is going to do in the end. I think that worked. I'm not passing it through. That's what's going on. My window didn't come back because I'm missing a comma here. Come on, come on. There we go. Oh yeah. But probably 30 is where I want to be. Yeah. All right. Well, the books fit. I think it's fine that they're all the way to the back. I tend to push mine back. Probably what I want to do is 25 and then just push the books up a little bit. Since the books aren't centered there, the origin for the books is there, so I think that'll be good. Come back over here, go to the generator, and the commenter maker likes centimeters. All right, good. Then centimeters it is. Book size and an easy math comparison. Good logic. All right, I need to move this in the Z by I think just like so right now it's at the center of the bookshelf. I probably just want it in positive Z shelf depth divided by 3. Do I have a shelf depth? It's just depth. Where is this coming from? Why am I passing this through? Oh, shelf height. Yeah, that's the position of the height of the shelf. There we go. That's good. All right. I feel like I want to push the width just a little more. There we go. These are big books. Okay. So we've done the scalars. We have those positioned correctly. We have our bookshelf laid out correctly. I guess now is a good time to switch it over to the new prim structure, putting these all under an Xform. And yeah. So here where we're defining our asset scope path, we're going to define asset root path, and this will be bookshelf, and then these will be parented under that bookshelf. These lines are getting long. Let's see if we can make this a little bit cleaner. Is that cleaner? Probably not. That. Looks. All right, so now we're going to create 3 prims here. And because we're doing all this definition of the hierarchy up front, then everything else should theoretically work because it's all relative to the scopes. If I rerun this, I didn't define the right type here, but everything else worked. Geometry, look, and all that looks good. So let's, for the delete prims now, all I need to do self, if has adder self, you know, if I'm running, if I'm not running this for the first time, and this could be better, I could tag the assets with well, I'm only doing this just for debugging, so I'm not gonna spend time on this. This needs to be a string. So if I run this more than once, then this would not be, this attribute would exist. So that means I know I can do a delete prims on this here, and that's going to get rid of those errors that I was getting the first time I'd run it, or if I'd run it when with an empty scene. All right. Whoa. That's okay. That's expected. There we go. And then I run it again. No. Okay. So I guess the delete didn't happen, or I hit some other error here. Invalid syntax. Let's check that one more time. Run it. Run it again. So it's not finding this attribute. Did I do it backwards? Nope, object and string. So yeah, that didn't do it. Well, there's that output. Yeah, it's not getting in there. Is it? Oh, it's because every time I reload the extension, it creates a new object, and so this class doesn't have this attribute ever. Okay, so no problem. We'll just do poor man's version of this. If USD.prim world bookshelf dot is valid. Does it exist? Then delete it. Yeah. All right. Got an error maybe? Yeah. Prim. I need to do get prim at path. That was silly. Self dot underscore stage dot get prim at path. And there we go. There we go. All right. So let's see what's going on with this Xform here. Why does this one affect all of them? Or not really all of them, right? It's only affecting the bottom and not the rest of them. So this is an interesting problem. Oh, I see. So part of the problem is going to be that these prototypes are underneath this hierarchy. So as I move the parent, these are also being moved, which means that then the prototypes themselves are being moved, I think. Looks like it's looping on the same set rather than going up the shelves. But I'm not, I mean, this isn't my code, right? This is just basic USD functionality. It's these books that I'm talking about that potentially are having the issue. what I'd like to try is that in Maya there's this idea of inherit transforms. You can turn that off and it'll basically the child that has that checked on will not respond to. See how these are all moving, and they're still getting like double transform. Will not respond to any parent transformations. You can do that in USD as well, and so I wonder if that would solve it. So we could do that. Did I not make prototypes a scope? Oh no, I just made it an override, so it is what it is. That's how we represent typeless overrides. Or pure overrides. And this has interesting. Should this instancer should have Y values? I don't know if it should have X values. So let's undo all those transformations and see what happened here. Oops, I went too far. Let's just regenerate it. Okay, so drill down into here. Take a look at and it's just the books that are wrong, right? The cubes for the frame are correct, I believe. I don't remember why I set these. So Z would be the depth that I set for the books. Y, oh, and X is the offset to get them from the center off to the far left of the bookshelf. So that's all correct, and that's not changing when I edit this. Yeah, the bookshelves are correct. So what I'm thinking is happening. I'm becoming more certain that the issue is that these are inheriting the transforms from the parent. So I wonder. Yeah, let's put this on each of those books and see if we can do that. So let's take a look at USD Xformable. That's the wrong one. But it's here. And there's a reset Xform stack. Specify whether the prim's transform should reset the transformation stack inherited from its parent prim. So actually this may be not what I need. Maybe I want to clear the transform. Well, let's try both. So we're going to set that to true. I just need to get the prim. Get the prim as a mesh. No, as an Xform. And reset Xform stack. Okay. So create prototypes. Here's where I'm creating my prototypes. And creating the reference. And so Xform is equal to, we'll just call it asset Xform, is equal to USD dot Xform. And pass in the book path. That gives me an Xform object, and now I can do asset underscore Xform dot set read set and set that to true. This is Python. We need a capital. And save. So it's going to reload. And we got an error. Define. Well, it wants a string potentially, and I think I gave it a. What are the possible? Oh, I need a prim. I don't have a prim yet, so yes, I do. It's here. Cool. All right, reset. There we go. So that one's right. But why didn't that happen for the other instancers? Pretty sweet. So let's take a look at what that actually did. If I go to each of these books and I look down here into the Xform op order, there's the reset Xform stack. That's all that did. Now these should be moving too, though, unless they have some sort of reset or something going on here. This is the only one that works. So this one's more odd to me, for sure, is why aren't those other book instancers moving? The data looks the same. Let's see. So we're creating all those prototypes. That's all good. Then we create the instancers. Define the path. Get this Xformable. How to translate up. All pretty standard. Well, I could continue to debug this, or I can just move on I can debug this later and just move on and do this with one instancer the way that I was thinking I probably should do. There's some flashing going on there. Look, this one's not even. Oh, actually, there's some minor. Feel like there's some minor. Now these books are just not spaced correctly. Isn't that weird? Regenerate it one more time to see what's going on here. Didn't see that before. Yeah, look at that. So these books aren't quite spaced correctly compared to the bottom one. Bottom one looks pretty flawless. Yeah. So, and is that happening here too? Yeah. Well, that's a cool bug. So let's look at that one. Next x plus next width. So for every instancer, do I have some sort of lingering parameters? I wonder if I was getting this before I made the change to put it under an Xform. Yeah, the scope here looks fine to me. There shouldn't be anything polluting between calls of create books. And just to exaggerate this, let's see. Does this get worse every iteration or no? No, they just get a little messed up. They're like equally messed up on all the books on all the bookshelves other than the bottom one. Anyone has any ideas? Let me know. And I don't know. Let's just see what happens with if I only do the last shelf. How did I mess that up? Oh, that was foolish. I don't need a length here. Oh, and the first one gets created. Okay. So that's okay. So that might be an explanation as to why this one is different. So the first shelf gets created in its own call for create books, whereas this one is called with a create books and the offset. But that's just setting a vertical offset on this. And also notice how the first book is already in the wrong position. Interesting. So for every shelf, I'm creating a board, and then I'm setting the board position, and then I'm setting the book positions. When I create the books, I get shelf height here, and I set the Xform up for this. For the most part, all of these, both of these should have the same values except for the height, which looks correct to me. And they should both start at next X should start at 0. I guess that would be the other thing to look at is the positions. I should have done that earlier. Is if I look at the position values here. Can I copy this? Just look at the first ones. That's the first book. That's instancer. That's good. And this is the second book instancer that's bad. So oddly, I'm gonna reset. What do I want to do? I want to edit this, change the over to a def. Actually, I shouldn't do that here. Just do it over here. So for the most part, this looks correct. It started at 0 and it's scaling. It's going up. The numbers aren't going to be exact because they have different widths, but what that makes me think is that the origin of some of these variants are different, and maybe that's due to the reset that I did. On here.